This episode of the podcast is brought to you by our friends at Regrow, the premier cloud-based cannabis supply chain management system.
Hey, cannabis industry operators, a couple of questions for you. Is your cannabis company's SOPs tied directly to your cultivation plans? Can you easily manage your inventory and workspace and vendors from a single system? Or can you efficiently manage regulatory compliance across multiple licenses and states? If the answer is no, then you need to stop what you're doing and talk to the team at Regrow. Regrow is the first of its kind software that leverages components of leading ERP and supply chain management systems with the necessary compliance of the cannabis industry. Essentially, Regrow is the single pane of glass view into your entire supply chain that is built to automate tasks, reduce costs, and avoid shortages by creating dynamic workflows that maximize yields and increase profitability for your business. Visit their website at regrow.io. That's regrow.io. Regrow, the premier cloud-based cannabis supply chain management system. Hello, my fellow people of the plant. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Cannabinoid Connect podcast, your favorite podcast that includes industry-facing conversations with the industry's leading experts that aim to educate and inform the public regarding the plant's endless benefits. My guest today is Blake Schroeder. He's the CEO at Medical Marijuana Inc. Blake Schroeder, what's going on, man?
Hey, great to be here with you today. Really excited for the opportunity, and thanks for having me on the show.
Of course. This is the second appearance from the Medical Marijuana Inc. team. When I was first starting out, I think within the episode 20 to 30 range is when I had Dr. Stuart Titus on, who is super informed and knowledgeable when it comes to just the science and efficacy around cannabis.
Dr. Titus, really a pioneer in this industry. I mean, if it wasn't for Dr. Titus, I'm not sure that the world would have seen a non-psychoactive CBD supplement. He really led the way, and I'm so incredibly proud to have worked with him over the years.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've seen him. I mean, he was one of the first to testify, I think, in front of the FDA and really represent the medical marijuana or medical cannabis community. Right. Which is just great, so congratulations, Blake. I know that you're taking the helm now, and Dr. Stuart Titus is passing the torch, as you've been recently announced as the new CEO as of June 2021. So before we dive into your role and your vision for the company moving forward, let's first talk about your background. From my understanding, you've been with the company for the past 6 years. Is that right?
Sure. So I started my career actually as an attorney. Don't hold that against me. Worked at a law firm for a few years doing litigation, and then got into sales. And I was brought here to help the company do sales. I remember in 2016 when I came to the company. That year, the company did $5 million in sales, and the next year we did 35 million, and the next year we did 60 million, and the next year 80 million. And so my job's really been to grow the sales of the company, and it's been a really fun ride, and really blessed to work around a lot of great people.
Yeah, I mean, to dive further in that, I know a lot of your key contributions dealt with international market development, financial performance management, product development, rebranding efforts. So it sounds like you wore a lot of different hats within your tenure, that 6 years.
We've done a lot of fun things along the way. And, I remember when I first came to the company, CBD was really the wild, wild west. I mean, I remember, you'll laugh, one of the first events I went to, it was maybe a month after I started working. It was a cannabis convention, but mostly targeted towards CBD. And, if you know anything about our company, we've got some families whose lives have changed because, they found CBD and they got on the product and forever changed their lives. And kids, it sounds funny, but it was a kids and cannabis sort of exposition that we had at this show. And I remember, everybody in the room was crying. We had this amazing show. We had some of our families who are so near and dear to us telling their story. And, nothing against drag queens, but, before they could even get off stage, the bass starts pumping and they're welcoming up the cannabis drag queens to bring on the next section. And, I knew right then, we need to make this so that people understand that CBD is so good for you, and it's the non-psychoactive way. And this isn't just for fringe society, it's for everybody to learn about. And I think we've made great strides.
You have, yeah. And I mean, I want to talk to you a little bit about the company legacy. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, Dr. Stuart Titus was kind of at the forefront of the, educating and communicating the efficacy around the therapeutic benefits of cannabis and specifically CBD. And I believe that MJNA was actually one of the first companies to be public, right, in the cannabis spaces, or if not the first. Is that right?
Absolutely, the first. We're really proud of it. So MJNA, Medical Marijuana Inc., the first ever publicly held cannabis company. And we've done a lot of the work in the industry. I mean, this company launched the world's first CBD product. Believe it or not, it's funny to say now, right? Because CBD became such a boom. We launched the world's first ever CBD product. We still manufacture the original formulations. We can get into that, but most of the stuff you find on the market is nothing similar to what the original was. And we led the way. We've presented at the World Health Organization about the safety and efficacy of CBD. You mentioned Stuart presented at the FDA for when they were changing the law and introducing the Farm Bill and making clear to our country that CBD was legal, reaffirming our position, by the way. And yeah, we're really excited because, if you look at the global landscape, it's a shame. 70% of the world or more, cannabis is still 100% not legal. And we think it's our responsibility to make sure that everybody has free access to these products because we've seen how life-changing they are. And so, we're going to fight all around the world and become the world's first truly global cannabis company and make sure that people all around the world have free access like we enjoy here in the United States.
Right. No, that's great. And that's a perfect segue because I want to get into, the specifics in terms of what the plans are for the company for the remainder of 2021 and beyond, right? With you as the new CEO. So my first question is, are y'all really still doubling down and focusing heavily on the, scientific, medicinal, therapeutic aspects of both THC and CBD? And if so, how are you planning to communicate and educate, not only the healthcare side, but also the consumer base as well?
Yeah, totally. I mean, we're for sure engaged in that. In fact, I just barely got off another podcast where Stuart and I were guests, and we talked about, the original formulations of CBD and how it started out with green, blue, and gold oil, and how most of the industries moved toward isolate-based products, which are great products. We sell isolate-based products, but they're nothing like the original full spectrum products that you can find. And so we're definitely engaged in that. The world's kind of changed though, at least here in the United States. I mean, if you go out and ask somebody if they know what CBD is, guess what the answer is?
Will it get me high?
Well, yeah, will it get me high? That is a valid question, but they know what it is. And it's in large part to the work that we did, right? And other people in the industry as well, but they know what CBD is now. And they know, a lot of people know kind of how it works. And so really, we need to continue on the educational front, but really we need to make sure that we've got a world-class brand and that our customers have a world-class experience with our brand. Because, the world has become educated about CBD, at least here in the United States. And we're really proud of that because we think it's in large part to the work that we've done about it.
Right. Yeah. And it seems like there's, challenges that go along with it, particularly in the US when it comes to the education front for even specifically CBD, because, as we know, there's a lack of enforcement of regulation at the federal level since the Farm Bill was passed in 2018. So there have been an influx of just all these different brands and companies and some and a lot of them are low quality, maybe can contain harmful ingredients and whatnot. So there's that barrier of communicating what a good product is and how you can find and purchase a good product. And then it seems like that next step is, okay, once you've located a good quality product, what's the proper dosing? What should I be taking it for, right? Particular ailments. So I would imagine, is that part of y'all's education process? And how are you going about doing that?
Yeah, for sure it is. And, I remember going back to 2016 pre-Farm Bill, I remember going out to Colorado, and I mean, it was a real cannabis boom in Colorado back then, and all the marijuana growers were trying to figure out how to get into the hemp space, and they were formulating up products. I mean, I've been to them, I've been to their garages, and I've seen it firsthand. Right, what we stand behind is our triple lab testing approach. That means we test the product, we test the raw material when it comes in, we formulate the products, we test again, and then we test when it goes out the door to make sure that what you're getting, first of all, that our cannabinoid concentration is what we say it is, and second, to make sure that there's nothing bad for you in the product. So, as everybody literally has launched CBD products, make sure that you're buying from a reputable source for sure. I've probably, like you, heard of stories where people may have gotten their CBD quality or product that may contain some synthetics in them and gotten sick. And that really is an issue for the industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say really, really beware and make sure that you're buying from a reputable company, one that has followed the law in terms of their labeling, in terms of their testing, and making sure that you're getting a high quality product.
Mm-hmm. And just for clarification's sake, so from my understanding, MJNA, y'all do both, right? You formulate THC products and CBD and other cannabinoid related products. Is that correct? Or is your focus solely on the CBD market at this point?
It's for sure an interesting question. Medical Marijuana Inc. was actually founded, and it was going to be a service provider for the cannabis industry, right? Because even today, it's such a shame. If we're talking about psychoactive marijuana, dispensaries, a lot of times banks won't accept their money, and then it creates a black market. And I don't think that that's what any of us really want long term. And so then MJNA got into the development of non-psychoactive cannabinoids because we thought that was what was federally legal at the time. Now, in MJNA's future, for sure, we will be wanting to play in that space. THC isn't yet federally legal. And so, having our public company, we can't quite participate in that space until it does become federally legal. But yes, we have plans for when it does become to be a major player in the space.
So that it basically just kind of shifting current operations with what you're doing in hemp and formulating cannabinoid related products outside of THC and just kind of shifting that focus to the THC market. Are there any particular states that y'all are interested in kind of exploring more?
I mean, there's for sure an opportunity out there in the cannabis space for for people that are looking to get involved. In 38 of our United States right now, marijuana is legal. So you still have 12 that aren't. I mean, keep an eye on those, right? Because as they change laws, it just creates opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of our company getting involved in the THC space, the federal government will have to change their viewpoint, and I hope they do soon. I mean, if you look what happened just recently in the news, I personally think it's a travesty. I mean, we have one of our Olympians who's trained for all these years, pop positive on a cannabis, product. I don't even know what she was taking, whether it was psychoactive or non-psychoactive. For me, it really is neither here nor there. And all of a sudden, she's eliminated from the Olympics. I mean, we've got a lot of work to do still, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just to echo that, so like my thoughts on it. I mean, as a former athlete, like I get it, right? The argument that she knows the rules, she shouldn't have done it. I get it, right? My whole beef is that of the scheduling of this substance. It's wrongly scheduled. So this shouldn't happen, and it should not continue to happen. We need to evaluate these outdated laws and reform them, because elite athletes like Sha'Carri Richardson and others are getting penalized and dinged for something that is misscheduled and isn't as harmful as it's currently scheduled. It doesn't compare to heroin. It doesn't compare to methamphetamine. So I agree with you. It's very outdated and draconian laws that just need to be changed.
Well, they need to be changed. And plus, you just have to look. Like, I've been lucky in my tenure at the company. I've gotten to know a lot of former NFL athletes. And, they're prescribed so much pain medication during their playing days. And we all know what the opioid crisis has created in this country. And cannabis is for sure a solution to that.
Right.
And somehow we think it's okay to, get people on their opioid prescriptions. And then we end up dealing with the problems that we're seeing now in terms of its abuse, and not letting people participate in cannabis, which is an all natural, solution that doesn't have all those same issues associated, right? Big challenges, big opportunities, no question about it.
Right, and the product speaks for itself, right? I mean, the shift is going to naturally occur because people are tired of being accustomed to the same kind of medicines and prescriptions that we've been accustomed to for years that just manage, right? And don't really improve the quality of life. And so I totally agree. There is a shift coming, and it's going to put pressure on these, federal policymakers. And that's actually a great transition because, I want to talk to you about, current talks of cannabis reform at the federal level and how that would impact obviously companies like MJNA and also others in the space. So let's first take, safe banking, for instance. We've heard Chuck Schumer's interns tweet on his behalf every other day that this comprehensive bill is coming, but we've yet to see it. So what do you think is happening within the Senate, and do you think that Chuck Schumer is serious about what he's saying about being very diligent and focused in this bill?
Well, I certainly hope that he is, because if you, it's like we were talking about this a few minutes ago. It is just such a shame that we have 38 of our United States who now have medical marijuana laws and made it legal. But you make the businesses that are participating in the space, they've now been given a framework to operate legally, and they can't take their money to the banks. Well, that creates a whole litany of issues. In fact, it almost creates a black market or a gray market for cannabis when those states have spoken up loudly and said, no, 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 we want this in our state because we think it's good. But of course, the banks are all tied into federal regulations. And so, man, I really, really hope that Mr. Schumer's taking it seriously and that the Senate's taking it seriously. I think in terms of cannabis regulation, there's nothing more important right now than passing the Safe Banking Act and making it so that these legitimate businesses can thrive, and taking them out of a gray area. It's really unfair to their owners and their customers.
Right. And I think I've asked this question before. I need to remember the answer to it. But when it comes to safe banking, I know that just basically frees up the opportunity for operators to bank with private large institutions. It doesn't cover the whole removal of the 280E provision, correct?
Yeah, I think that's how it's going right now. Totally spot on.
So, I mean, at that point, the next thing that I would imagine needs to be looked at is that god awful 280E provision, because it's such a handicap and a hamstring to operators, as they can't deduct traditional business expenses like any normal business could, right?
It's just an additional burden and tax on, again, people that are trying to have legal cannabis businesses in the states that have passed frameworks for it to happen, right? And so it's just an extra tax. I mean, of course businesses get a write-off expenses. And listen, if the states think it's good, right, then the federal government should pass legislation to make it happen and to make it easier and to make it more seamless and set up businesses to thrive, not to fail.
Right. And to your point, I mean, even Justice Clarence Thomas basically is echoing what you said, where he's basically stating federal prohibition and federal laws are basically like they're complicating state laws. They're not meshing well together because they're outdated and they need to be looked at and reformed. And that was huge coming from, one of the, if not the most conservative justice within the Supreme Court. So
Totally, and I'm glad there's a voice for it, and kudos to Justice Thomas for that, for sure. And look, back to your original question. Hopefully, Mr. Schumer's taking it seriously, and hopefully it gets on the Senate floor, and hopefully it gets passed. I don't think there's any piece of legislation right now that's more important for the industry than the Safe Banking Act.
so that's what you think would probably come first, or is probably the most obvious thing to introduce first, is safe banking, and then kind of roll it out from there?
I mean, of course, we would love to see it all happen, overnight. Given our history, cannabis was prohibited in this country in 1936 with the Marijuana Tax Act. And so, we're now in 2020. Can you imagine? It's almost 100 years.
Right.
And, the cannabis movement really started back in the 50s and 60s. And so we now have 70 years of strong activism happening. The first state to legalize marijuana was California in 1996. Well, that's 25 years ago. And so, it's time to get serious about it and take some action. We now have the majority of the states in our union who've passed medical marijuana laws. I believe you have the majority of the citizens, the overwhelming majority, who are like, yes, this is a good thing. And so let's make some progress.
Right. Yeah. 92% of Americans polled that they are for cannabis legalization. I think that, and then the only other issue where Americans polled at like 60% of they agreed on was the existence of aliens. So the two things that Americans agree about is cannabis legalization and aliens exist.
Well, there you go. That's pretty funny.
In 2021. Yeah. So there you go. Um, so outside of national reform, being focused within the United States, where does Medical Marijuana Inc. Put its focus on the global stage, right? And we know that Latin America's growing share of the global cannabis industry is just on the rise. So do y'all see yourself playing in the Latin America sandbox, or is there any other regions globally that you're looking at?
I love the question. In Mexico, we started selling in Mexico 5 or 6 years ago, and we were the first company to ever launch a legal CBD product into the country of Mexico. And the reason why was because of a little girl named Grace. And, Grace, her dad is a good friend of mine and works for our company. And, she had some conditions, and traditional medicine just wasn't treating it. I mean, they tried brain surgery, all kinds of stuff. And CBD gave her some relief. And so it started with Grace, and then Grace's father, Raul, started helping other families to legally import non-psychoactive CBD-based products. And now the way that it works is doctors are recommending it, and then they can buy it from our company, which is phenomenal. We're the highest recommended product in Mexico. We have a similar story, very similar story in Brazil. Now, I wish things would move even faster. I wish that it would move so you don't have to have a doctor tell you it's okay first, right? If you remember in the United States, that's also how it happened, right? You would go get a recommendation, and then you could go to the dispensary and purchase whichever cannabis-based product you want to. And then we came here full circle. Now you can just buy CBD products.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you want to go to the dispensary, all you have to have is an ID, and you can buy it without a doctor's recommendation. But yes, what MJ&A wants to do is really become the world's first truly global cannabis company. And that's what we're focused on. We have operations right now in Brazil, Mexico, Europe, Japan, and we're getting ready to open Hong Kong, which is really exciting for us. Massive marketplace of Chinese speakers all over the world. And, we're going to be the first ones in there. So we're pretty excited about that.
Man, I can't imagine the complications when it comes to like entering a new country and abiding by the regulatory compliance framework and regulations that they have in place. And I can't imagine how different they're all varied, right? So, I mean, what's it like to operate in Japan as opposed to like Latin America? I mean, is hemp seen as how it is in the US after the 2018 Farm Bill, where it's legal to commercially grow, sell, extract, formulate, and all the above? Or how does that work country by country?
So I would say the world is lagging behind us for sure. And in most places where we do business, you can only sell products with 0 THC. So there are no full spectrum or broad spectrum type of products. Really, you're just selling 0% THC products. And
so that would be broad spectrum then, right? Because isn't broad spectrum removed?
You have a broad spectrum product.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a full spec product. And I hope that changes because it needs to change. Full spectrum products are better than isolated products, and people have a better experience on them. And then obviously that's a baby step in terms of full cannabis legalization on the heels of that, right? And so we take I told you in the beginning, one of our responsibilities, we want free, safe access to cannabis-based products all over the world. And so, yes, it does get complicated. And you do have to go in and do your homework and understand the laws and make sure that you're going in to comply with them so that you can create an opportunity in the future, right? Because the last thing you want to do is go into a country, violate their laws, and then put a black mark on the industry and prohibit it from moving forward.
Right. Yeah. Doing a disservice, like trying to do shortcuts and just get it out there. And then it's a detriment to the entire industry that's trying to enter. Right. So
Yeah.
it's great to hear that y'all are taking your due diligence, your research before, actually moving forward. And so, anything specific that MJNA is excited about, that's upcoming, whether it be announcements, expansion plans, anything that you just want to call out that you're excited about as the new CEO of the company?
I do for sure. One of our subsidiaries, Canaway, opened in Japan about a year ago, and man, the growth has just been phenomenal, off the charts, and
Great.
that's a massive marketplace. And now we're getting ready to enter into Hong Kong this fall, which we're really, really excited about. I mean, you think about the Chinese-speaking population around the world, and it's a market that's largely untouched by the cannabis industry yet today. We view it as a massive, massive potential. And then, yes, we're working on our hemp meds division is working on many pharmaceutical applications as well. Still early stage, but we believe we're going to have pharmaceutical companies in hemp meds in Latin America coming up, here relatively shortly, which we're really excited about as well. So, we've got our retail space, and then we'll have our pharmaceutical applications, which we're really excited about, and really paving a way forward to doing what we talked about, becoming the first truly global cannabis company. That's what we want to achieve.
Yeah. Going back to the expansion plans into Hong Kong, which is very interesting and exciting. Um, how does Hong Kong view the purchase of CBD products or broad spectrum products? Like, is it pharmaceutical based where you have to have a doctor's note, or can they go into a retail supplement store or regular store and just buy these products? How does that work?
Yeah, they're first of all, they're not prevalent there right now, and we intend to change that. And second, no, THC free is legal in Hong Kong. So
Gotcha.
a broad spec or an isolate based product will work there, and we're excited to pave the way.
That's really exciting, man. Yeah, congratulations into the entrance into that market. It'd be very interesting to see, the response on the consumer side as to, the education and even just their experience using the products. That's exciting. It's a whole new world. It
Well,
sounds
and it's really awesome. Asian medicine is very, very different, or Eastern medicine is very, very different than Western medicine, right?
right.
And their background and history is already in botanical sort of, remedies.
Hmm.
And so this is just, I'm so excited about it because it's they already understand it. You don't have to educate them that natural products and natural ingredients, have a place in our health. And that's one of the reasons we're really excited.
Yeah, seems like a great fit, man. That is exciting. Well, Blake, I want to leave the floor up to you, man. Is there anything else that's top of mind or anything that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
First, I want to just thank you for the time here today. I think we're really, really excited about the future in terms of here in the US, our continued expansion in the US, going around the world and really being the first to beat down those doors. For me, part of this is personal, and it's the families that we get to meet and the difference that we make in their lives. And a lot of times that happens when you're first, because that's when you meet those families. After you've got 40 or 50 companies in there, that starts to fade a little bit. And so I'm really, really excited for that opportunity. I'm really super enthusiastic about MJNA's future. We just posted, we had our biggest month ever in the country of Mexico, which is really, really exciting for us. It's kind of funny, thinking about Mexico, all the cannabis that's been brought illegally across our borders, and yet we're taking cannabis to them in a legal and safe way,
Right.
which is awesome. So great things coming, and just appreciate the time today.
Of course, yeah. Oh, how the times have changed. But it's good change, and it's good to see legacy companies like MJ&A, still working to provide more access to this plant, into the people that need it. So, Blake, really appreciate you sharing the insights. Where can people find y'all's website, social media, and even on the Canadian exchange if they want to invest to learn more?
Absolutely. So we operate two subsidiaries here from our headquarters in San Diego. The first is called Cannaway. You can get there by going to cannaway.com. Cano is a direct selling company, so you'll need a referral from a member. You can go to hempmeds.com. That's our normal retail company. You can buy it straight from the website. If you want investor information, you can go to medicalmarijuanainc.com. That's the name of our company, and I hope to see you there.
Awesome. Well, Blake, thank you so much again, man, and best of luck to you on these future expansion plans. We'll be looking out for it.
Absolutely. Let's reconnect soon, because I'd love to talk about it as we get further down the road.
Absolutely. Yes. And thank you all for listening. Bye.